Holy crap. We need to start over.
Start it over.
All right. Devin, Taz, you are like a savior of the podcast, dude. So what happened was I ended up, for the countdown, I had it muted. And I didn't unmute it once we went back. I thought it would do it, but it did not. And yeah, Devin, thank you very much for noticing that. And we will start over. I mean, like, that's what we can do, right?
That's fine.
All right, so now I have to definitely mark down like 1 hour. We're an hour into the thing. Oh man, I feel so bad. We were just talking back and forth here. So, all right, again, Devin, Taz, thank you. If you haven't already joined the Battlewatch group, feel free, because you being here,
People coming to watch us, because sometimes we do stuff like that.
yeah, you being here has saved this entire podcast. So hopefully we can provide the same information we were doing before. All right, here we go. Hey guys, welcome to the Battlewatch Podcast. This is an Overwatch podcast for Overwatch players. We are trying to give all the information we can over the time that we have. This is episode 6. I'm not going to go into what we're doing for the main topic. I'm just going to try and go over the weekly update and everything else. Man, I'm doing horrible already. Anyway, so as always, if there's any viewers, listeners that have information they want to hear, feel free to ask us. We are always receptive to anybody that's willing to give us information, and we'll try and reciprocate it so that you can learn just like we learn. I mean, if you have more information than we have, feel free to let us know. We're just trying to improve the community. And ways of doing that, join the Facebook group, which is the Battlewatch. Just type that in Facebook. It'll be probably the first Overwatch group that you see. And me on Twitter at DR4G3N. So feel free to join that. Without further ado, we are going to introduce the Battlewatch commanders. This is the project. Man, I still screwed that up. I had 2 times to do it, and I screwed it up. The excellent, the freak, Mark. He's my co-host. He is going to have to say everything all over again because I screwed up on the tech side. Say hi, Mark.
That is fine. Hi, how's everybody doing?
So I am DR4G3N Dragon, and
We're going to get through this
yeah,
one way or the other.
we are. So we always start out with a question for the crew and a question for the viewers, because we want people to be able to engage with us and we want to be able to engage back. The question we had was, what were your first thoughts about Overwatch gaming? Go ahead, Mark. Take it over. Do it again. Just do it again.
We're doing competitive, right?
Yes. Overwatch competitive gaming. My bad.
So my first experience with Overwatch competitive is that it's really, really tough. I think there's a lot of really good people within the game. I'm not too pleased with some of the way people communicate with each other, but we'll get more into that later.
Yeah. My first experience, I like it. I used to play Smite competitively, so I really like the competitive scene. And I want to be able to get with a good team that I can group up with regularly, because as we've said, I didn't say the main topic. As you can see what the main topic is, we are going to be talking about communication and how everything goes. And the communication in competitive right now, it's basically, no pun intended, a coin flip. And because of that reason, there's a lot of people that hate doing it or already want to quit the competitive scene. Blizzard already announced that they're going to be changing up a lot, so hopefully they can pull through and bring us the competitive that everybody wants to see. So, all right, let's try the weekly update again. And thanks, Devin. Feel free to sub, bro. We are going to be here each and every week.
Weekly update.
All right, back to the nitty gritty. We have, for the weekly update, competitive is live, as we said. There are a lot of things that go into competitive. We're going to go over a few of these things. We might miss some topics. Feel free to correct us, to update us if we're doing anything wrong. but we want to talk about the rounds. So how many rounds are there? There can be up to 5 rounds, or then there can be 3 rounds. So on King of the Hill, there are 3 rounds, and on Payloads, there's up to 5 rounds, depending on how everybody does. The King of the Hill, if you win 2 out of the 3 rounds, you have won the match, even though it takes you to a third game. And so if you win the first round, you win the second round, you think that you've won everything, but they take you to the third round. I think it's just to complete what the map is supposed to be, but it'll figure out like how it works one way or another. Now on the payload maps, it's going to be 3 or 4 locations that are taken over. The first one is to either unlock or push the payload. The second one is a checkpoint, and the final one, or the third or the fourth one, is the final checkpoint to actually win the map. The Household Gamer, hey, just want to say what's up, man. Thanks for stopping by. So payload can go up to 5. They do a coin flip if you're tied up. Blizzard has already announced, because of everybody complaining, that they do not want to see this coin flip anymore, and they will be taking it out as of their next patch. After that, you go into a sudden death. Depending on who won the coin flip, it's going to put players on attack. And from what I've played and what I've seen, attack is the way to be for the games. You always want to be on attack, because the way the game is set up is that the attackers don't have to move as far to get to their location as the defenders do to get to their defensive location. Now, this isn't always ideal on certain maps, but Blizzard has noticed this and announced this and said that they are going to be working on that change. Mark, how are the length of the matches?
Well, they can be actually really long to really quick. We've had some matches go, upwards of 20, 25 minutes. It just depends on if you're splitting the wins. If you're splitting the wins, you end up going to that sudden death match. It can be a pretty long set of games before you get out and start a new round. Again, we've seen some where you've gone in and we're done within, 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It really just varies depending upon how well each team is balanced against each other. If you have one team that's far better than the next one, it's going to be quick. But if it's pretty even, and I've seen quite a few of them, you can go to that sudden death game, and it can get pretty lengthy.
Yeah, and speaking of that, if you're going to start playing competitive, I completely forgot this the first time we went over. If you're going to be starting competitive, make sure you have some time split so that like you're not going to have real life getting in your way, because if you step away from your computer for, I believe it's 30 seconds to a minute, in competitive it's a lot lower. You get thrown out of the game and you're labeled, I guess, as a leaver. You have the option to join the game if it's still continuing, so that you can't join another competitive game. And if you do that, even if your team wins, you still take the loss because you left the game. Now, this happened to me on our first placement game?
Our first placement game.
Yeah, our first placement game, I had a family issue that came up. I needed to leave my computer. I knew I was going to be kicked based on what I had to do for the family, and I came back in time to help the team turn around. They were playing 4v6 or was 5v6 at the moment, which is another thing to make notice of, that if you are in the game and you do happen to leave, your team will not be able to get a replacement player like off the cuff. It doesn't automatically get filled. You're just going to be playing against 6 people, and you're going to have 5. So this could happen 4 or against you, depending on which players leave. So that being the case, it's very much a team game, like Mark said. So moving on to that, playing on teams. Now, when you start the game, you're going to have a display of how many people you're playing against and what their names are and their levels, their ranking levels are. This is displayed as a side-by-side, how can I say that, side-by-side chart almost. And they will also display how many people are on the team. So you have, if Mark and I are playing together, it'll show that we are on a team together, and it'll show who is playing together. And then it could show another team on our side. And then on the opposite side, it'll show what enemy teams are playing together. And this is kind of something that you want to take note of. Not so much how many people, but the names. Because if you're playing against, like, Mark and I, for instance, and we are your opponents, you're going to notice that I play Reinhardt all the time. And if Mark goes Mercy, he's going to be stuck to me most of the time. Because not that he doesn't care about the other players, but he's going to be taking care of what's most important. And you would think that that would happen for everybody, but it's not going to be the case. You're going to see Mercy's helping out Reapers a lot. You're going to see Mercy's helping out Junkrats with damage and stuff, and they're just not going to be paying attention to their team, and you can take advantage of this. And finally, before we get into Mark, I'll let you take the Mercy thing. There are multiple of the same characters. I thought that they would switch this and make it so that you can only choose single characters, like you can't do multiple Torbjorns, but I believe that this is where Blizzard wanted to go with it. They want people to be able to change on the cuff and be able to adjust to what is going to help your team out in the long run. Without further ado, Mark, you said there was a Mercy nerf?
Yeah, it's kind of, I wouldn't call it a nerf. It's more of an unintentional change in the way you have to play her. From what I could tell, Blizzard acknowledged the fact that, I guess in the last patch, when you're healing or damage buffing with Mercy, you're clicking and holding down the button. Now, previous to the patch, the way it would work is, if you looked at somebody else, another character in your general direction, her screen will change automatically and move between, whoever you're currently either close to or looking at for that matter. Well, now, and again, this is unintentional, and Blizzard says they're going to fix it. Now you have to release your finger from the button and then find line of sight with the next person you want to heal and click it again.
Okay.
So it does change the way she plays a bit, but it doesn't really make her less or more of, powerful. It just kind of adjusts the way you have to play her.
All right. So since, I don't know if whoever is watching, if you've been watching for the past 5 episodes, I've been kind of taking control of the way the outline goes. I've been putting it together, and Mark has taken it over this week. I had to step away. So, Mark, without further ado, the main topic.
Yeah, sure. The main topic this week, and probably the hottest topic in Overwatch competitive right now, is communication.
Oh, yeah.
It's the need to, because there's a lack thereof of communication. Really, the only communication I ever see when I play competitive is at the end of the game, everybody else telling everyone else that they suck.
Yeah.
And it's all negative. Nobody's really working with each other. And in competitive, it is imperative that you communicate with each other. It helps you win the game. If you have a team of 6 communicating and a team of individuals playing and they're not communicating, 9 times out of 10 the team of 6 are going to win. It's just the way it is, because they're coordinating attacks. They're not going in single file. They're grouping. They're coming around the backside. They're doing what they need to do to get the game done, and the way they're doing it is communicating with each other.
Yeah.
So if you have a headset, or you don't, and you're a fast typer, because I'm not, either use a headset or use the chat. Type in chat, one or the other. You have to find a way to utilize your 2 methods of communication to win the game. Nobody in this life wants to lose. Nobody grows up and says, I want to be a loser. Nobody starts Overwatch and says, I hope I lose 10 games tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to win. And the best advice I can give you is to communicate with each other to win the game. It's like an extra, ability. It's your ability to communicate,
Yeah.
You gotta stay with your teammates. You gotta be willing to make moves, willing to group up, willing to, change your character midway through the game. If somebody says, hey, we've got a Bastion up there, can somebody play Genji?
Yeah.
If you're a Genji player, listen to your team. Somebody switched to Genji, you know. So those are just some ways to communicate with each other. Now, establish good before the round starts. So everybody knows you're either running, if you're on defense, to defend an area,
yeah,
or you're in the holding cell waiting to attack. These are both great times to say, hey, I've got a headset. Who wants to do what? You know, can we group up here? I've got a strategy. You know, you never know. Somebody else is going to say, hey, I got a headset too. Yeah, we can talk. I'll follow you. We'll create a plan. Whatever it takes. You know what I mean? Whatever it takes. Just try to communicate with each other and let others know that you're willing to communicate to win the game.
Yeah.
Communicate effectively. What you want to do is you want to call out enemies. Say, hey, there's a bastion on the left-hand side around the corner. You know, group up with me, so on and so forth. Effective communication. Effective. You know, belittling someone, which is what I currently see a lot on Overwatch competitive, does not make you a better player. If you tell me I suck worse than so-and-so's mom did last night, it doesn't miraculously make me a better player.
No.
When you do this, okay? It doesn't make anyone a better player. In fact, it probably pisses them off, which then affects their gameplay.
Yeah.
So effectively communicate. And remember, not everybody is as good as you. So take it easy. We're all in this together. Nobody intentionally plays to lose. I don't think, anyway. Though I hear otherwise sometimes.
I'm sure there are trolls. Let's just hope they're not in the competitive scene.
Yeah, I'm sure there are plenty. And I'm sure there are people you may come around to that are just trolling. But hopefully, somehow, some way, Blizzard comes up with a way to kind of stop that.
Yeah.
You know, I know if you're standing in a particular position, you're not doing anything to help your team, you're going to get kicked. But I think that the game should have some sort of algorithm that determines, well, if somebody's moving around and never left the spawn area,
yeah,
keeps moving around to keep their character active in game, you should kick those people as well. Because I've actually seen one of those.
Yeah, and as you guys have noticed, the more people complain, the more Blizzard is really trying to make this a game that they can go into esports, that this can be their next ticket to beat League of Legends, and they want to be at the top of their tier in every element, every type of game element. And because of that, they are going to take people so seriously when they're complaining about things. They're already, like, people complained about the high noon, or not the high noon, the fan the hammer being a big problem. And what happened? Less than a month of the game being released, they have already edited the game. And that is a key thing to note, because of the fact that the more people complain about players, they're going to start changing the game to the people that play more's needs. They've got over 7 million people. I think it might be 10 million people that have at least tried the game out. And they'll get the numbers of how many people are playing competitive. And if they're getting 5,000 people complain, like, let's say that, I'm just spitting out numbers. Let's say they have 10,000 people playing and they get 5,000 to 6,000 people complaining about people belittling other people. It's not going to be a, hey, we should just change this. It's going to be a, if you report somebody, they're going to look into it. They're going to do something immediately. And that, I think, is what Blizzard needs to do at the moment, because a lot of people are, not that they're not taking the game seriously, but a lot of the people are trying to force other people from playing the game because they don't think they are as receptive as the person that's basically talking down to them. That being said, we should all know that we're all human beings. Like, nothing in this game is really going to change the fact that you are playing with another human character on the other end, be it opponent, be it teammate. And because of that, everybody should get in their head that the way I talk to somebody in real life should be the way I talk to this person as they're playing the game. They might make a mistake. They might just completely screw up or completely not be a good player, but being able to telling them that they're not good is not going to help them, like Mark mentioned, and it's going to make your other teammates resent you more. So if you're not that Mercy player, if let's say you're the person belittling and you're an attacker, and believe me, this has happened to me in World of Warcraft when a mage is telling the healer not to heal the tank and to heal them, the healer just lets them die. And that is what's going to happen to a lot of players. People are just not going to pay attention to them. They're going to let them die. They're going to have them continue to complain. Everybody on the rest of your team is going to report you, and you're going to be targeted. You're going to be targeted by the developers. Like that's how it's going to go.
Very nice about it, let's just say.
Okay.
He had complaints about what everybody picked. He was constantly telling everybody that they were terrible, so on and so forth, and it wasn't even really constructive criticism. He's just putting everybody down.
Yeah.
I was playing as Mercy, and he begins to spam for healing. Guess who didn't get healed?
Exactly.
Him. And did that hurt my team? Possibly. I honestly can't remember if we won that game or not. But, you're going to start seeing a lot of stuff like that where people just not going to take anybody's crap anymore. If you're going to spam me for healing and tell me I'm an idiot and I can't play Mercy, well, okay, then I won't heal you. That's just the way it's going to go. So you just got to be careful, It's just, I think online there's that level of anonymity and people think it's okay to just talk to somebody like they're crap.
Yes.
And the thing is if you want to, that's fine, but you have to understand that this is your teammate. It's no different to the fact that it's no different than if you go to a restaurant and you order food, you're talking to the waiter or waitress like they're garbage.
Yeah.
What are you going to get? Probably the same kind of service back, or somebody spitting in your food or something crazy like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you're in it together. These people are a part of your team. And 9 times out of 10, when the game is over, your next game is not going to include the vast majority of those people, though I do see some people are the same game after game.
Mm-hmm.
But, they're going to leave, and I believe as the season goes by, those people that aren't good players, the ones that are typically getting yelled at, are going to drop down in the ranks overall, and eventually, if you're that good, you're probably not going to see them anymore. So there's no need to, put them down any further. Just let their gameplay speak, and then eventually, they'll be low enough that you're not even matched with them anymore.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, while they're there, talk to people. I realize competitive isn't the time that you should be telling somebody, teaching somebody how to play a character. Of course not. But, you need to tell them, hey, if you're healing, if you're a healer, let's say you're Mercy, okay? So we always talk about this battle healer or battle mage or whatever you want to call it now, right? So if somebody's playing Mercy and they primarily like to use their gun and their heal is secondary, okay, you have to understand that's the way they're playing it. You're not going to convince them to play it any other way if they don't want to, so you have to be able to adjust and say to somebody, hey, we really could use a healer. We got enough attackers, we could really use a healer. Can you just play healer this time around? See what they say.
Okay.
But if you turn around and you say, hey, idiot, quit you and your stupid pea shooter and start healing me, you moron, odds are they're probably not going to heal you.
Yeah.
You just use your head.
Yeah. Like, a lot of people, and don't get me wrong, I've met people that their response to constructive criticism, like being negatively provoked, has been positive, but that's like a very few and seldom people. Like, a lot of people like to be complimented when they're doing something, or a lot of people like to try and reciprocate when good things have happened to them. And everybody should realize that the more information you give to those players, the more they're going to want to friend request you, the more they're going to want to play with you, the more teams you're going to have to play with. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had friend requests from random people just because when I talked in game as my Reinhardt, I tell people what level my shield is at, when I'm going to be regenning, where certain other players are, that a Tracer is behind me and she just used her ultimate. Like, there's all these different things that you can say over the microphone. And the one thing that I think it would be extremely difficult for Wizard to implement, but they had it in Smite, was there was about a list of 30 or 40 different responses that you could give to different players, basically. And they would say anything from going to the right lane, from going to the left lane, from moving this direction, moving that direction, I'm playing this character, I'm using my ultimate. There's all these different things, and while that might help the game, the fact of the matter is there's always going to be people that want to hate, and there's always going to be people that want to progress. The people that want to hate and want to progress, it's not going to happen, man, because you're going to be playing a solo game. A lot of people are going to mute you, a lot of people are going to stop your text from happening, and you're just going to be playing alone. And you don't want that to happen, because there's supposed to be 6 people on this team, and -1 is going to make your team a lot more difficult to play against the enemies.
Right. And, there was an article on Forbes.com. It was written by a Mr. Paul Tassi.
Forbes is like a pretty big magazine, too.
Yeah, it is a pretty big magazine. It was titled, "The Honeymoon is Over. Competitive Overwatch Brings the Toxicity."
Yes.
And I have one quote from the article that basically sums it up in its entirety. If you get a chance to read it, go check it out, Forbes.com.
We'll link it.
The quote was, "Even just on day 1, even having not completed all my 10 placement matches yet, I've already had the worst team experiences of my Overwatch career."
That's so sad.
It is sad. It is so sad. And I understand that in the competitive scene, you want to win. You want to get on the top of that ladder, but you're just not going to do it in the manner in which people are currently doing it. The whole idea of team play just needs to change. I mean, I get the frustration. I understand it. There's nothing worse when you're having to pull somebody on your team along.
Yeah.
But these people are playing a game too. They paid good money. They want to play, and again, like I said earlier, nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, "Man, I hope I lose 20 Overwatch games today in competitive and I drop 8 ranks."
Yeah.
Nobody says that. Everybody's there to win. There are different levels of ability, but people of lower ability will weed themselves out by losing those ranks, and then eventually they won't be up in the top tiers. So, communicate with each other, be nice, and then there's the other side of it. These people that they communicate, they do it well, then they tell you what to do.
Yeah.
You don't need to play this, you need to play this, you need to do this, and you need to come here. And now you're the bossy communicator. There's a fine line. I saw somebody the other day, I was on attack. They brought in Widowmaker, and somebody typed into the chat, "Just posing the question here, I don't want to offend anyone. Do we think we need a Widowmaker on attack?" The other person didn't say a word, but they changed from Widowmaker.
And that is a perfect way to say it.
So, you're just saying, hey, do we need this? Is this something that we need? And sometimes people will still want to play it, and that's fine. You just got to deal with it. What are you going to do? You can sit there and type all day how mad you are when you lose the game, but it doesn't change the fact that you lost the game.
Yeah.
And you're just going to go on and play another one.
Yeah, very good point.
Aside from that, I mean, I don't know what to say. I don't get on there and yell and scream at people, so I don't know. I got nothing for some of these people.
Yeah, there's no real point behind that. So what you can do, let's go over what you can do to counter this. There's a couple of things. In the Forbes magazine, he mentioned that it was the first time that he ever had to find out, and he had to Google it, how to mute another Overwatch player, yep. which is also kind of upsetting just to hear. But what you have to do for that, and we'll just give this will be a a tip that you can do. I don't know what it is for the consoles, so I apologize for that in advance. But in PC, you press P, it brings up basically a panel of communications, and you can go right to the right of their name, and it has a little microphone, and you can mute that microphone. That is one way to do it. If people are getting obscene or texting in the chat, you can go over to that as well, and you can turn off their chat so you can't see what they are texting also. This is the first time I've seen that, which is pretty impressive for Blizzard to do. Which also makes me wonder if Blizzard had an idea of what was going to happen anyway, right?
I've actually done that before. I've actually muted everybody.
Yeah.
Because there was this massive argument that it didn't even pertain to me, but I got so tired of seeing everything pop up on the left.
Yeah.
I just muted everyone.
Yeah, I'd rather see people saying that they have their ultimate. That's all I want to see in the left side. What else? So you can do that. You can try and calmly tell the person hey dude, you're being a little obnoxious, and there's different ways to say it. A lot of people, somebody could respond to that with being oh, my bad. They could say that, and the rest of the game they might not talk, but they might listen to what needs to be done, or they might just improve on what they were doing. You can being able to take a certain role takes a lot of stress off of people. And Mark, just second me if you think the same thing. I know that whenever I pick Reinhardt and somebody else picks Mercy, you don't hear any complaining on the field. It just seems like people are oh man, I don't have to play the tank, or I don't have to play the healer. And by all means, I love playing the tank. I've got no problem doing that. But sometimes I want to go reaping, man. I want to go taking people's souls. But I can't do that every time, and a lot of the time in competitive games I'm just you know what, I'll play the Reinhardt because I know how to play him really well. I can support the team, I know how to call different calls and make different plays, make different calls for other people, and without being bossy, obviously, and I can help my team win, because like Mark said in the beginning, that's eventually that's what you want to do in the first place. So that being said, just see how people respond to different things. You're going to have different people responding, and this could gain you teammates. This could gain you different understandings of the game. Maybe they knew something that you didn't know. I was watching a competitive team the other day, and on while I was at work, and they were communicating very well. I believe they won with 1 meter to go on a payload, and it's clutch how much talking can actually do for you. So just pay attention to how you're talking to people, and just improve on that as the game progresses, and you're gonna meet people. That's what the game is not completely designed for, but you want to get into the role of, hey, I can meet people on this game. I can turn this game into a community. I've made friends. I've been able to play with these people. If they like the way I play, if I like the way they play, we can make a full-on team and go into competitive matches daily or every other day, whatever needs to happen. It's just paramount. I don't like you said, Mark. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah, I mean, there really is no else to say it. No other way to say it other than the reality of it is, a team that communicates is going to end up on top of the ladder at the end of the season.
Yeah.
People who don't, I promise you're probably going to end middle to low of the ladder. So if that's where you like to sit, by all means, don't communicate.
Yeah.
Teams of 6 that communicate with each other are just going to fool you day in and day out because they have the advantage. So you can argue amongst yourselves, or you can communicate and play the game and be on top. It's your choice, really.
Yeah, and before we get off the subject, I just want to mention one thing that was in his article. Why isn't this loading? One thing that was in this article that kind of brought a glimmer back into the whole subject that we're on. He said, all this said, I've probably had the I've probably also had the best game I've ever played during these competitive placement matches too. My 9th win was an absolute joy with a full team of supportive voice chatters that all worked together well, and we pulled out a 1 meter to spare goal line defense on Hollywood that was stuff of legend. We were literally cheering afterward, and it was a fantastic experience. So while you have low thanks to toxic trolls, you can also have some pretty high highs with wins that actually feel like they matter, and teams that are much more willing to work together. So, like, take that however you want. There's going to be good times in the game, there's going to be bad times in the game, and it's basically up to you guys.
That's it. It's all how you make it.
All right, so what does that bring us down to? The tip of the week?
Tip of the week.
All right, let me bring that one up before I completely ruin it. I need to find a different way to do this.
Tip of the week.
Probably blew people's eardrums out. Anyway, tip of the week is holding down. Again, I don't know for consoles, but it is shift for all of the players that I'm going to name. Holding down, maybe not Genji. Genji might be E. Holding down your Mei's Ice Block, Genji's Reflect Skill, Tracer's Recall, Reaper's Wraith Form will cause it to activate as soon as possible. This will help you avoid Roadhog's Hook and McCree's Stun Fan the Hammer combo.
Yeah, but Tifa's boost too works for.
Oh, if you hold it down?
If you're trying to make it to a point quickly, if you hold down shift or whatever you've got to boost mass to, as soon as it's available, it'll kick off automatically.
Nice, yeah. So what does this mean? So if you get hooked by this Roadhog and you are a Mei or you are a Reaper, just as you're being pulled in, hold that button down and it will immediately activate. This helps a lot because of certain things. A lot of Roadhogs, especially the ones that are high-end gamers, they try to pull you in, hit you with a melee ability, and then shoot you. Now, a lot of them can do this very well if they have the right reaction time, but if you're holding that down, there is no reaction time involved. It is only game time. It'll be a split second. As soon as you get pulled in, you will go ethereal or you will ice block, and you might be able to save your life. Same thing for McCree's stun. A lot of them, if they don't have a full 6-shooter on Fan the Hammer, like if they just took a shot at you and missed, and they're able to get that stun off, then you might only take 2 shots. And if they don't position them correctly, you might be able to escape out of it before they can kill you. With Reaper, you might be able to get that extra boost of health that's right next to him, or with Mei, you're just getting boosted because of Verse. Same thing with Genji's Reflect skill, being able to destroy a Fan the Hammer right back into it, or a full straight shot of Roadhog's Buckshot. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good deal.
So that's all we have for today. I believe next week we are going to be talking about attacking and defending on the best and worst maps of the game and how to overcome those odds. Hopefully this helps a lot of people out in the competitive. And before we go out, let's give our shout outs. Mark, you want to take it over?
Yeah, sure. You can find my YouTube link down below in the description. It is The Freak. Check out some of my videos I got there. I haven't streamed very much lately. In fact, I think it's been at least three or 4 weeks since I posted anything. I haven't abandoned my channel. I haven't really had anything of quality to put up, and I don't really want to flood it with streams, though I know some people like to watch that kind of thing. I might be putting one up here pretty soon. But you can catch me there. You can also catch me on the Facebook Battlewatch page. Constantly posting all kinds of updates and news. And if you need a friend to play with and you're a good communicator, you can catch me on BattleNet at The Freak, #11944.
Nice. So again, I am at DR4G3N on Twitter. The Facebook group, as Mark just mentioned. YouTube, you are watching it. And my BattleNet name is DR4G3N, #1333. I don't know why I got such an easy one. It's so easy to remember. But thanks to everybody for listening and viewing. Again, I want to make a big shout out to Devin Taz for completely saving this podcast, because without it, I don't know if any of you guys are watching right now. we were silent. Like, we were silent for a good half an hour, and we had to completely redo this podcast. It's definitely might be something we revisit just if we check it out and it didn't sound as good as what we said in the first place. So we could revisit. And communication, like, that's never going to go away. We all have to talk here at one point or another. So if we see the game progressing with more communication or less communication, we might have to rehash this out. And as always, we'll try and bring you the most current information we get, as we get it through the Facebook groups, as we get it through the patch notes, through Blizzard developers, everything. Thanks again for stopping by, guys. Peace.